Boom, boom, boom. I think we're live. We're live. Live a little bit early. So I'll probably hang around, see what happens when people join in. Fire up X14. Going to be using X14 for this. This was a popular series on my YouTube. I got a lot of personal messages about doing this. People like seeing me solve random things on Chieftalk, so that you can pick up cool little tidbits and tricks as you go. So I haven't previewed Chieftalk. This is always, I don't have all the answers. So if I run into something I just don't have an answer for, I'll breeze right past it. I'll get through it, or we might struggle through it. Who knows? So welcome if you just joined. This is solving Chieftalks general Q&A. Chieftalk is Chief Architects Forums. So it's owned by Chief Architect, I should say. And I like to get in here. It looks like I've looked at a couple of these. So maybe a couple of these are just old and they keep being brought up to the forefront for people posting, reposting, or adding to them. But yeah, I haven't looked at these. I'm very curious to see what we've got this time around. Like I said, probably just breeze past things that I just have no answer for or no idea on, or maybe they're off topic, or who knows. Feel free to jump in and comment, like Ethan. Ethan, how's it going? Good to have you here. So let me dive in. I feel like we're on schedule, so there we go. 11 o'clock on the dime, Pacific time. I'm in California, back in my home, back in my office. So let me see what we got first. Story pole dimensions. I could already tell you I'm not going to have a lot of great answers for story pole dimensions. I use them just for my main markers. I don't go as crazy as some people do. I know Robert Dick is he's one of the guys that does a lot of stuff with story pole dimensions. So what's this guy asking for? Let's see if we can get in tight here. How do I get this marker to line up with the other markers? Now, this picture is pixelated. It's not my screen, hopefully. So if this looks pixelated, it is pixelated. It's pixelated on the forums. How do I get this marker to line up with the other markers? I want to move this marker only. Huh. Okay. You know, I'm pretty sure that happens occasionally. And I'm not sure where it comes from or where the fight comes from. Let me just pull up an elevation camera and let's pull an auto story pole. Now, I'm not using out of the box. I'm using my own template. So I may have done something to story pole dimensions. I've touched so many things in my templates. I'm never really sure what I've got going on here. You know, you can always double click your marker, especially in X14. Keep in mind, we're going to be reviewing this from X14. So I can always double click your story pole, and now we can get into our dimension defaults. And this is Rab's favorite dimension default. And then we can get into, let's see, I actually don't know with the new dimension default setup. What do we have here in terms of locating elevations? Yeah, so I think we get locate elevations tab is what we've got for our story pole dimensions. And then you can set, you know, the different markers that you're going to hit. And this should all be pretty familiar. So from there, if you've got a marker that's not working right, I would just say redo your story pole dimensions. I don't think we can. I mean, you've already got our point to point, you know, where you can pick up a new elevation if it's a known elevation, right? So like if I drop this down to the top of the footing, we can pick up that top of footing. He's talking about some kind of alignment issue. Another thing I like to do, and this is a good trick actually. So I'm glad we're doing this. Little tricks always make a big difference. If I grab my wall elevation and bring it forward, and then switch back to my elevation view. Now you can see here we've picked up some new things, but we also have the capability to grab new things in our section cut view, right? So we have the ability to like really locate some of these things. So I can find out where that top of the foundation level is. I can grab my continuation handle and maybe pick up a few things that are just arbitrary, right? And it's going to tell me that I'm dimensioning to a cross section line. And when you pull that elevation back, that dimension should remain. Yeah, see, we're still picking up some arbitrary cross-section line, and it's turned into a point marker. So a couple little tricks for using those elevation tools. I'm not really sure what that person's problem is, so I'd have to dive in a little further on that. All right. Yeah, no, the etiquette's a little lacking in Chieftalk sometimes. You're right. Or let's see, let's just say like the friendliness, right? We get some pretty sharp responses from people on Chieftalk. I know Eric Solver is his handle on Chieftalk. He does a great job of, handling a lot of questions that show up. Rob Dick's a great resource. Same with K-Bird, whose name is Mick. He's, both Rob and Mick are up in Canada. So I know where those guys are from. So let me get to the next one. Oh, we just had one come up. Let's check this out. How to create porch with a roof over. Reading a plan for a remodel of a small home. I wish to create a screened-in porch with the house roof over the top. I can't figure out how to create the space. Well, most of us know how to do that. Most of us know. I mean, that's just rooms. That's just new rooms and walls, and maybe you have to figure out how to do a screen wall. But I'm going to skip past that one. That one's, most of us should know this one. Okay, title is Epoxy Coating. And here we go. We got Ryan Gardner responding to this. I'm buying up a resale HGB. This looks like a chat room thing. Flooring in the wall tile and the toilet are old. Any recommendations on how to have a new look without much hacking? Yeah, okay. This goes in chat room. This doesn't belong in Q&A. It's not really chief related. Rectangular polylines not snapping closed automatically. By the way, if we just breeze through this super fast, I'll continue on to page number 2. I'm using Chief X2. Well, that's not very helpful. Chief X2, and for the last 3 days, rectangular polylines that were drawn automatically snap close are now just for lines, and I can't close it off and create blocks. Okay, well, I have a response for this for X14. So let's get in and just show you. Closing CAD polylines is actually a global setting. It's not a default setting. So just a reminder to anyone watching this. Default settings are plan specific, meaning you have a plan open. Defaults are going to apply to that plan only. It will not apply to other plans. No settings in default settings will apply to any other plan other than the one you're working in. So if we've got a behavior that seems like it's global, like polylines not closing, we're going to be looking in preferences. So we're going to get into edit preferences, and because we're talking about CAD lines, let's get into the CAD panel. And in the CAD panel, we've got an options section, and there is a check mark next to connect CAD segments. If I uncheck that, what's going to happen is if I draw out a line, and I'll just do alternative behavior. Alternative behavior is going to be my right click, right? And that's going to make it so I do a continuous draw CAD. So that, well, you can already see it's not showing me an inference snap, right? Until I kind of click over there. There we go. So look at that. This is not a closed polyline. Even though we drew it as a closed polyline, it is not a closed polyline. Okay, these are individual CAD segments now. And you're going to see my mouse marker. And actually, let me see if I can, oops, bring up my pointer tools so we can get a little magnification here. you can see my mouse cursor has a new icon, a little line with an X through it. And that means that I don't have CAD connect CAD segments turned on. So there we go. A little explanation for you. A couple things you can do. Let's go turn those back on. Edit preferences, the CAD panel, options section, connect CAD segments. Now it's not going to automatically reconnect this, but I believe that I can just highlight all of this, and in my edit toolbar, use the extend tool and just click somewhere on one of these lines, and look at that, it closes it. Quick little trick for you. Quick little trick for you. So the extend will connect when you have. Keep in mind, there's one crucial part of that. Okay, so I'm going to go back a level. I'm going to undo, and because we have connect enabled, it's going to it's going to close this up, right? Now, keep one thing in mind. I'm going to disconnect this. In fact, I'm going to disconnect all of these, and I'm going to try that extend trick again. But we're going to change one element of this. All right, so now we've got individual CAD segments. You're going to see I've got start and end on one end, right? If I get into my edit toolbar and change the direction, reverse the direction, now it's end is on the left, start is on the right. If I click on this next segment, we've got start and end. I'm pretty sure now if I highlight this whole thing and then hit extend and click again, it's not going to close this up because that first segment had a reverse start and end point. So I'd have to come back here and hit close polyline. A couple little things. Maybe helpful, maybe not. All right, let's get back. Odd kitchen layout. That sounds like a design question. I'm guessing it is. Yeah, okay. This is just a design question. We can get to that some other time. What do we have? We've got some comments on Eric here. Eric is very knowledgeable, but should probably take on Rob's last name. On Rob's... Oh, who's Rob? Rab? Me? Who's Rob? All right, some funny stuff in there. He's kind of a curmudgeon sometimes, huh? Yeah. I don't know what. I'm always curious. He must make some money or income on some of that stuff. Oh yeah, I see you, Ethan. I'm not even gonna pin that comment. We're teasing the poor guy. He must make some money or income on it somehow. I don't know, because he's always on a trial version, which I find funny. So I think he's retired. Yeah. Okay, how to hide floors from elevation views or full camera. All right, what's this guy got? This plan is an addition to an existing building for the exterior full camera overview. I do not want the existing building to show. Okay, so he shows an image here, and it looks like this is the existing building, and he doesn't actually want to show the floors and ceiling. It looks like he's got his walls on some other layer that he was able to turn off. So, I mean, a couple of things he could do. He could just, and this is just showing one big room, it looks like. It doesn't look like we've got a split in the rooms. Otherwise, we'd see some cuts in the floor. So he could just change the room to, like, not show the floor, not show the ceiling. So open below and open ceiling, right? So I've definitely seen someone say that they've worked with him recently. So I don't fully believe that for fun thing. Well, yeah, no, I've definitely seen him make some income here and there. And here he is actually responding, and he just gave the same answer I gave. But another thing you could do in this particular case is just use our cross-section cuts, right? So let's just, we're pulling a camera, and you can always just, in your 3D menu, pull up the cross-section slider and cut away your existing structure, right? The other thing I've done before, and it's kind of fun, I'm not sure how useful it is, it has its place, is just creating a new versus an existing. Let's try this. Let's do this real quick, because this is kind of a fun thing that not everybody knows about. So we've got a building here. I'm going to do a new building. Phone is blowing up. Sorry about all the dings. Friday, busy Friday. Okay, so I've got a new building here. Let's just change it up a little bit. We're going to have to save both of these. So I'm going to save this guy. A lot of people ask me about folder structure questions. I have a folder called send and delete. It's perfect for this kind of use case where this is going to be our as built. Send and delete is just things that I'm going to end up deleting. So it makes it really a useful folder to have. So there's our as built, and then this is going to be saved as our new. And then we're going to use our reference and open up change floor reference. Okay. And then I'm going to select my as built, and we can just leave it on the working layer set. That's fine. And we're going to see our as built's there. Our new is here. We can obviously drag this off, and probably going to want to overlap these two. I'm going to do just a point to point, use this as an inference. There we go. So there's our new, there's our existing, right? We're showing the two side by side. Let's change that floor reference again, and I'm going to switch over to an existing floor plan to kind of distinguish it from the new. So now I'm showing it. I'm showing my as-built next to my new, right? What was this introduced in? I think X9. And let's pull a view and do the same thing. Let's change that floor reference, get that new plan in here, and we could leave it in Glasshouse. And you can see what's happening here. We're showing our new versus existing. Now you can build out a full construction document set with this workflow. I can even, join my roof planes and cut them halfway to kind of show maybe we've got a roof over scenario where we're doing a new roof over an existing roof, and we're cutting back our rafter tails. And you can get really advanced with this, and you can even do this in your elevation views, and we could change the rendering technique to be a standard rendering technique. So number of different things we can do in terms of having a new versus existing workflow where we're showing the existing structure next to the other one by using two separate files and using our floor reference display. So kind of a cool thing you can do. I've got a video online back when this feature first was introduced about a particular workflow I was using. I built out a full project doing new versus existing, having the addition be a completely separate file, and it worked just fine. So totally doable. Check it out. Let's see what a comment we've got here. How do we place your home design on the plot, i.e. turn and move the plot to place the home where you want it? I've tried locking layers or hiding layers, i.e. turn move the plot to place the home where you want it. Well, it's not about placing the home where you want it. It's about placing the plot where you want it, is what I would tell you. Yeah, no, I don't have any problem with that. Shouldn't be any problem with that. So let me see if I even have I think I've got one that we can talk about here. Maybe in my, this is hard to just drum this up off the top of my head to figure out, which ones I've done a site analysis on. Let me see if I've got something ready to go. No, I don't. Okay, so we can just make something up though. So I like to go into, our parcel map. So I'm going to get into, I'm in Contra Costa County here in California. So I have some resources for design, drafting and design. And then we've got GIS and maps. So we're just going to pick a parcel map. Why not? Just pick one here, do additional details, and click to download a parcel map. And we'll throw that into send and delete. Okay, and that's a PDF. And then I should be able to, let's just create a new. Not. Let's close out these other ones. I think I'm done with those. Let's grab this PDF, drag it into Chief. I get asked this a lot, actually. I probably should do a video about this stuff. So, first of all, we got a north pointer. That's a big key, right? This particular parcel map has a north pointer, so really important to keep track of this. CAD lines, grab our north pointer, and I don't know, I like to get in real tight and actually get this to be as accurate as possible. So I'll come in here. I'm going to hold my control key to override snaps and get this real tight, right? So there we go. I've matched our north pointer, and then let's just pick a parcel and run with it. Maybe we'll do one that's a little challenging. Maybe we'll pick this one right here. So I'm going to just draw my line out, and you can input your line right off the bat, right? So I could have just tabbed that and input my information. Now it's helpful when you're doing site plan to do to come in here, change your number style. So decimal feet and then quadrant bearing. Here we go. Right. And then the other thing is have this open up under line style panel, show length, show angle. Okay. And that's going to give us some additional information. Now I'm going to drag this off to the side so we can kind of see it and see what I'm doing here. So a couple things to note with Chief is the bearing might seem wrong to you, and it has to do with the start and end points of your CAD lines. So we're doing this one right here. I need a north 67, 58, 14, and you're going to see just because we drew our north pointer in the correct way that it's our bearing is going to be very close, but it's inverted. See how it's south 68 east? And our reference is north 67. If we're looking over here in the corner, north 67, 58, right? Here's the trick. If I reverse this, look, now we've got that north 68 west, right? So you've got to kind of wrap your head around that and also kind of detach your mind from that, thinking that you can invert the start and end points in your mind so that you're setting this up correctly. And you might need to flip your start and end points when you've completed your lot lines in order for them to display correctly. So we'll draw this out. Just going to draw this whole thing out. We've got a radius. We've got another marker here, a return, and then we can close this up. So there we go, right? So now let's work on conforming this. So I've got this polyline. We're going to get into the line style tab. We've got show length, show angle. That's all good. Now we need to get into the selected line tab and our length. This is where we're going to designate our length. So it's going to be 92.14 feet, right? And then since I actually don't have an answer for this little problem. This is just how I've worked around it all this time. I don't have a symbol for our degrees. So I leave the degree intact, which means I don't just replace it. Okay. So I got to come in here and edit the values. So we've got north 67, 58. Right. And I deleted the little foot symbol. No, it's not actually feet. I know. And then 14. So there we go. We've got our first line, and here's where we start the tricks, right? So obviously this is much larger than what's going to fit on that particular part of the screen. I might need to move our reference PDF down a little bit, get it out of the way. Sometimes it's helpful to just circle the plot that you need. Sometimes it's also helpful to actually try to scale this. So we can shrink this down to just that part that I need, just by pulling those sides in. And then I could use our point-to-point resize. I hope this is tracking well with everybody. 9.14 feet. There we go. So you can almost just copy and trace over this if you need to, right? So I've got it kind of centered on my screen. And then I can take this and point it right in the middle here and get these lines really close. That'll get me close. And then pull it off to the side again. Okay, so then we just go around the clock here and start working these out. Now there's a couple of things to note. You really want to know what your start and end points are. This is really important. Okay, so our end points up here at the top, start points down here. We have this first line segment done already. So we need to make sure that we're locking the endpoint if we're going to change the value here. So in our selected line panel, you can see here we've got the start point locked. That's not what we want. We want the endpoint locked. So let me make sure I know what this next value is. It's 60. And because I shrunk this so far that we can't actually see the bearing, we don't know what that bearing is, which is not helpful at all. It's probably pulling from a grid here. Somewhere in here is going to give us a bearing usually. And I'm not too worried about it. I'm just trying to, proof of concept here. And in fact, I'm just going to delete this and talk through the rest. Point being that if we know our value for this next segment, we just need to make sure that we've got either our start point or end point locked so that the previous segment that we had typed in is locked in place and it can't be edited. So you need to go methodically around this, making sure that you lock the correct point and then do your edits. When you're done with your edits, what I would suggest, because the bearings are going to be flipped or switched, is you're going to have to disconnect line segments, disconnect selected edge, and then reverse that direction. And when you do that, what you see here is because we disconnected this, it lost that show angle. So you're going to have to open it up again, show length, show angle. And there we go. Now when we switch that direction, it's going to give us our correct bearings. So a lot of times my plot lines are going to have, disconnected edges. I don't want to reconnect these. Oh, this is a huge little tip. Serious? See, this is why we do this. I didn't know that. That's awesome. Facebook user, not sure who you are. I'm going to try that out right now. Let's check that out. So let's just say that this is selected line. So we're going to call it South 65. What are you saying? South 65, 15. Why not? We'll do what you said. 45 East. Dude. Yes. That's a great tip. I did not know that. That's awesome. Great tip. Anyways, I'm going to move on from this. I think we've got a lot of the info here. I know that a lot of you probably want to know about doing our kind of an angled front yard setback lines, right? And using offset commands versus using like the multiple copy offset commands. We'll have to get into that in some other video. I want to move on through this through the forums. So I'm actually going to close this down and do a new one. We got a little sidetracked. Great tip. Thank you, whoever that was. Let's see. Well, Ethan, we just learned something new. Both of us, looks like. So great comment from someone. Thank you. All right. So let's get back into what do we have here. So we got into the cross-section slider here. We got into just doing a new versus existing plan and showing both in the camera view. And we also just, doing that open below floor room type. Okay, wall below deck, turn it off. What's he got going on here? Wall below deck. When drawing multi-level deck, can I turn off the wall below the upper deck? I think this is just unchecking generate platform between floors. So how do we get into that? It's been a while since I've had to do that. Let me get into this. I'm guessing it's in the structure panel. Maybe not. Maybe not. Let's see. I'm not sure about that one right off the bat. There's something where we're generating between floors. Let me see if it's in wall types. Platform to exterior layer. No, it's not. Let me see what they answer. What someone's answered. Making sure they're doing a railing wall, etc. It looks like he said he found the solution by switching to a railing wall. Yes, that would be true. Here's probably what I'm looking for. Glenn's a great guy. He's got the, oh, I was in the right spot. Invisible walls and railings generate between platforms. It's because I wasn't using a railing in the first place, but that's a good one to remember. Generate between platforms. Glenn's answer? Yeah, I saw that. Glenn's the man. Absolutely. So just so we know, does that really not show up in our structure? Yeah, generate between platforms. Only difference between that is that I just didn't show that I was doing a railing. Let me do a railing real quick. There we go. Generate between platforms. So you can uncheck that, and then it won't generate between platforms. All right. Defining arc in top windows. Okay, so he's got an arc. That's challenging. Window tops to match the arc that I've drawn. I think that's just a bit of maths, you know? That's just really, yeah. Yeah, you can specify the radius, but it's almost like you draw the line and then you got to break the line segment so that it lands on the side of the window so that you then have that value to go plug into your arch segment. And I mean, that's just, it's doing some math. It's writing some stuff down. Not going to spend too much time on that. We could spend a lot of time on that trying to get one right. Stair newel. Is there a way to add a newel at the top tread? I feel like most of the people watching this, because I feel like I'm familiar with a lot of you watching this, that we know that we can always turn off. Where is my stairs? Where did I hide them? We can always turn off railings on a staircase and draw your own. All right, so we can come in here, open this up, getting to our railing panel, turn off left and right, and then come back in with a railing and draw it right over the top of your stair. And in our rail style panel, say follow stairs, and then specify your newel. Look at that. Look at that ugliness. Simple enough. Now you can get way more complicated from here. I know Ryan Gardner likes to flex muscles and do all of his tricks to get his railings set up perfectly using the tools built into the software. I happen to like to cheat a lot and then just convert stuff like this to a symbol. It's a simple cheat for me. Make it into a fixture interior and then just be able to drop it back in any way I want to. So sometimes I make my railings in another plan, spec to what I need them to be spec to, and then bring them back in as a symbol. It's kind of a workaround. It doesn't really bother me. So anything to just kind of get through. All right. Length in X foot X. You kind of need a formatted macro for this. And okay, so this is great. I love this part about Chieftalk. We're not going to spend any time on this. I could show you how to write this macro, but Rob, great thing here. He's dropped in a bunch of different macros for you guys. So if you're unfamiliar with these forums, get in there, go check it out, because people drop in stuff like this all the time. This is useful stuff. So he's got some macros here that are formatted for foot inch width, and he's even kind of giving you a display of how that works. So great resource. Go grab them and bring them into your template plans. That way you've got a few more macros available to you for formatting options. Cool. Okay, question is foundation level. I use the room settings to add a monolithic slab foundation throughout the house. The problem is I don't have a level 0 to do my foundation plans. The only way to add level 0 is to use the build foundation option in the build menu. I just want to stop this guy right here and say a big part about learning Chief Architect and really making it work to your advantage is understanding that level 0 doesn't actually need to be a foundation. Level 1 does not actually need to be your floor 1. Level 2 does not actually need to be floor 2. Your attic level doesn't need to be associated with anything in the program. These are just references. They're just reference tools. If you start thinking about levels as just platforms and disassociate them with how your building is structured in terms of its naming convention, then you will become more proficient in modeling on a level by level basis. Try to just detach from the thought that level 0 has to be something in terms of the architectural world. It doesn't. This is a modeling program. It's just meant to give you reference for modeling. So it's really helpful to just kind of forget for a second that, Chief wants level 0 to be some kind of a foundation level. It does. It just, that's how it operates. It's got some different things when it comes down to level 0. There's different settings inherent in our default template plans. So I oftentimes like to do my dugouts, my basement levels on level 1, and then let my foundation level be on level 0. It's helpful to distinguish the two, and you can still show both of them at the same time by using a reference floor display. So a couple tricks there in terms of just working around these levels, how to kind of manage these levels. I've told people before, I know I'm just talking, I'm not demonstrating right now. I've told people before, it's easy to do a stepped foundation when you start just disassociating the different levels in Chief with your floors or your stories in terms of your house, so that you're designing. So I can do a stepped foundation by creating 10 different levels in Chief. And so long as I know what those different levels represent, they might just be representing the different steps. I'm going to skip past that one and get to some more clever stuff. How to archive revisions to drawings. This gets brought up a lot of different methods out there. I like my method. My method feels like it's pretty foolproof. Let's see, what's he actually asking for? Work for an architect who likes to make numerous revisions, options, etc. She would like each one saved and labeled in case the client wants to go back to an old version. So I have a video on YouTube. It's an unlisted video. It goes over my naming convention for files, but we can touch on it a little bit here right now. Let me just get into any one of my projects. I've got a CA folder, and within the CA folder, this is the naming convention, and you guys may have heard me go over this before. My folder structure is such that the plan files within that folder are named the project name and new, or the project name and as-built. It never changes. So here's one folder containing a particular version and iteration and revision of this project Let me go into another one. Look, it's the same name, right? Wells New, Wells As Built. So I'm not renaming my plan files. I'm not renaming my layout files. Those remain the same. When you keep them the same, file linking has no problem staying intact. No issues with file linking once you keep those names the same. So if you're working, cross-platform, if you're working across a cloud service, you're working with someone in the same office environment, you've got no file linking issues so long as you don't rename your plan files or your layout files. You can rename the containing folder. Chief will look inside of the containing folder for any assets for that file. It will not look outside of that. No subfolders, no other tree hierarchy. It will look in the containing folder. So that would make it really beneficial for you to rename the folder, not the files within. My naming convention is year, month, day, dash, a design iteration. So DRV-A is design review A, DRV-B is design review B. Then dash V1, V0, V2, V3, that's version. So you might have design review A might be a galley kitchen. Design review B might have a peninsula. Version 1 of that might be that we're changing and putting a cooktop in the peninsula, versus version 2 might be that we're putting a range in the peninsula. So just slight changes, same layout, slight changes to, just the mock-up of that design, right? And then we've got the name of the project, and then I'm going to have a revision. Revision 0 means that we're actually submitting to the city. This is a permit set. Revision 1, so we've got some revisions back from the city or your municipality, and we need to change some things. And then we're going to have the name of the client, and then I might even add my initials if I'm working with a collaborator. So this is a great naming convention. It works extremely well. If I need to share material files, those material files go into this folder as well, so long as the containing folder has everything that it needs, all the assets, maybe PDFs that we've dropped in there, maybe some DWG files that we dropped. That doesn't really matter, but PDFs, images, any kind of image-based resources you're bringing in the plan, so long as they're in the containing folder, Chief will find it. So that's my naming convention. It works extremely well, and it seems to be pretty easy for people to catch on and learn. So that's how I archive revisions to drawings. Over an amount of time, I, of course, just will grab all these folders and throw them into a non-synced, or not an offline, but a non-synced folder, meaning that it's selectively syncing to the cloud, which means it's online only. Another thing that I do is when I print out renderings or print out plans, here we go. We can see the naming convention is in the plans as well, so that if someone wants to go back to a previous version, I only need to ask the client what's the name of the folder that name of the file that I gave you, and then I can find that folder and go back to that version. All right, let's move on. Door inset placement. I'm aware that this subject has been covered before, but I couldn't work it out. In the UK, the masonry cavity walls allow for a deep reveal internally, and the doors and windows are usually set in around 40 millimeters, a couple of inches, from the outside face of brickwork. I can achieve a flush look, but the door swing is then left open on the outside of the building. How can I have the door opening inward and the door placement more aligned to the outer brick leaf? Boy, that's that's a lot to take in on the fly. Let's see what people are coming up with. I once had this question from Phil Herdwell, and I came up with an answer, and I don't think Chief has a great solution for this. Yeah, Glenn's looking for a post of a CAD detail for this. I'm not exactly sure what he's talking about here. It's something about recessing the door with the overlay of your brick. Yeah, I have a video of this. This is I have this on YouTube. It's unlisted. Maybe I'll bring it forward, but and I'm working in VR in that video, so it's kind of hard to follow. But there is a way to do this, and I think it involves switching to a 2-wall assembly. Basically, instead of having one wall assembly where we've got a bunch of different layers here, we got your brick layer, you got an air gap, you've got your shear wall or something like that. You can switch to a 2-wall assembly where you break this assembly up so that you can get your inset, and so long as your door is set to frame through, you'll still get the complete frame through opening, but you can then recess, and it takes messing around with the main layer style and stuff like that. I might need to do a separate video on this, but you can stack 2 wall assemblies on top of each other and still get a frame through on your door. Let me see if I can just set this up on the fly. These are tough questions today. So let's just copy this, bring it over. Let's just change it to a brick. And then you can see here, sometimes it's easier in general wall defaults. Open this up, walls, general wall, and maybe I'll switch to our inner surface, and that helps me line this up. So now when I select this, we've got that the polyline is based on that inner surface, and I can drag this and snap it to this other wall. Right? Not too worried about its endpoint. And then when I do a door, you can see it's framed through, and you can see it acts a little different based on which wall you're placing it in. See, the first time I placed it on that interior wall, next time I placed it on that exterior wall, and then you can set your inset from there. Recess to main layer, recess to sheathing layer, right? So you can mess around with your 2 different wall. So you can break up this wall assembly, and it doesn't have to go for the full elevation, right? You can just break it up for one particular segment. Can be a little bit problematic at times. I think it's better to work it all the way through, because the other thing is that doing this return, you might need to play with your wall intersections to get this up to all jive right with your assembly. So a couple little tricks there. It's not a perfect solution. It takes a little bit of maintenance on your end, but it is possible to change, when you've got a massive wall assembly where you've got a brick and you want it to recess to a particular layer, because we only have the options to recess to a sheathing layer or recess to a main layer. So a lot of times if you want to get something really specific, you have to break these wall assemblies up. Close these down. Control W to close these down. New plan. Stair miters and 45 corners to connect this. Oh, that's kind of clever. He's looking for 45ing these stairs. I bet I figure out what's going on here. You can always do. This is a funny trick, and it looks like Eric Solver has got a solution here. I wonder if he's got the same solution as me. You can always do a 0 stair. You could also always do a landing. So, but a 0 stair, you just come in here, draw a stair, and then you can manually set your heights, right? Automatic heights, you can set to 0 height. And look what that gets you. So you could get a direction going this way. I'll just leave the railings on. And then it's helpful to have like a base structure to kind of snap this to. But if you kind of pop these point to point, edge to edge, and you've got a landing here, kind of want to move past this, but just want to show a couple tricks. So we got a landing here. Let's grab this, drop it over here. There we go. See? So now it automatically miters those stairs. And since I've got a 0-inch stair, we should get like a border. Here we go. Yeah, we got a border. So then I could just paint this some other material I've got to kind of let that stand out, you know? Yeah, check that out. Kind of clever, huh? And then deal with the railings, etc. And then draw a stair off of the top of off the bottom section of this. So that can get you a border. The other thing I haven't seen much of is just doing a border with material regions in a floor where you've got like inlay floor or something like that. Actually, I want to stop and talk about that real quick. Still got 7 viewers. Thanks for sticking in with me here. There's a couple different ways you can do. There was a post the other day. Someone wanted to do one of those hex tile inlays in the middle of a wood floor. A couple different ways you can do that. You could obviously do it with material regions. Same with a floor inlay. Another thing you can do, and I do quite often, is let's go and pull a camera view that's an orthographic view, right? And here we go. We've got a floor, and maybe we'll distinguish this floor by breaking it up, throwing some additional shaped rooms in here. So say that I want a border for this room. There we go. There's my room. So I can grab this. I can screen grab this and bring this into Photoshop and then draw in an inlay. You could do it with material regions, absolutely, but you can also do it with Photoshop, especially if you've got like a really complicated inlay. And so all we're doing is creating a material from this. And one of the big important parts of this is knowing what the dimension is. So I want to know the overall dimension. So I got 10'7" by 16 foot. So I'll do new. I'll use the clipboard. I'll paste, right? And then I want to set the image size. And I'm going to change it from pixels to inches. And what was our, it's going to be 16 foot wide. But 16 inches. Oops, let's see. 16 times 12. And 10'7". Now that's going to pump this way up, right? But we can change our DPI and everything like that. And then I can actually draw in inlays and do bump maps based on that, draw it in inlay, and then crop this. And then when I bring it back in, I could either have it scaled to size or I can have it stretched to fit. Either way. So you can do custom inlays just with material files and it works just fine. I have a video somewhere about doing custom shower surrounds where you've got tile that's wrapping, perfectly on grout joints all the way through a shower surround. Same kind of thing. In a graphic editing program like Photoshop, you can actually set your inches to match the scale of your drawing so that you can do very finite things with materials. And when you do it with materials, it's a lot lighter on the program. So you guys will have to let me know if you want to know more about that. Maybe I'll do some videos on YouTube for it. All right, wall not generating correctly with 2 different ceiling heights. Man, Eric is all over this stuff. This guy's everywhere. He's got the solution already, it looks like. Let's just take a look at what he's got going on here. By the way, do you guys ever use the fence tool? I don't know why that just came up, but someone was talking about it the other day. I'll have to show you. If you haven't used the fence tool, it's kind of a powerful one. All right, so save this to send and delete. Let's open this up. See what's going on. Looks like they've got some graphical issues here. Everybody works with this grid. I don't know how you guys work with the grid. I can't do it. That must be an old school thing. So, camera view. Cute little house. Hey, look at this. These are my cad trees. That's clever. Are they actually using my cad trees? Yeah, he is. Huh. Cool. Thanks for purchasing that. That was like $10 on my shop. Ethan said, oh, you're talking about the fence tool? Yeah, great tool. Really great, especially if you're drawing on a like a house on a diagonal and trying to select things, right? It's impossible to select with a square marquee that is, oriented top bottom, plan north south when you want to select things on a diagonal. Okay, so he's got some issues here. I guarantee you I could probably solve this very quickly. First of all, he's just not using the software the way it's intended to use, unless he's meaning to have a standoff. Oh boy, we got all kinds of problems in here. What's he got going on? What's happening in our foundation floor wall with 4x8? So he's got his wall layers, wall types all screwed up. I'm not sure this is going to be helpful to anyone. The thing I was thinking was, first of all, he's probably set his floor defaults to be a couple feet higher. Right? Let's just do that real quick. Floor defaults, rough ceiling. Let's call it 10 feet instead of 9 feet. We do some help here. And then this particular wall should probably be an exterior wall. Yeah, he's got something funny going on here. Exterior wall, and when you draw it through, there's a real quick setting that's really useful for this, which is in our structure, in our roof, lower wall type is split by butting roof, and then switch that to your interior 4 or interior 6 or whatever that might be, so that when we've got this butting roof, it changes that wall type here. Yeah, he's got all kinds of problems in here. Anyways, that was the main thing I wanted to show, was fixing this, is that in our roof panel on a wall, right? Roof panel, lower wall type is split by butting roof. Should have been the solve here, but he's got a lot of other things to address. So back onto what Ethan and I were talking about, the fence tool. If you want to select things, especially like on a diagonal, just by using a CAD line, you can quickly draw out a CAD line, draw it through any segment of things that you want to select, and then select that CAD line, and in our edit toolbar, fence select, and it's going to select anything that line crosses the path of. So very useful tool for selection. All right, let's close this one down. I'm gonna put that little tip inside of our shorts series on my YouTube channel. If you guys haven't checked that out, got a bunch of quick tips. I give no intros for those tips. I just dive right in, give you some quick solutions, and maybe some helpful tips. So, Chief to DWG exporting. Yeah, not sure what's going on with this guy. He's having a problem exporting DWG. Framing reference is not working. Not sure what that's about. Looks like Ryan answered this one. Yeah, I'm going to skip through this. I'm actually feeling a little tired, guys. Let me see if I can get to the last bit of this. Project browser window size resets. not remember this. Well, I don't think I've had that problem, but maybe I have and I haven't noticed. Yeah, I'm not sure. Depends on the toolbar that comes up. It will resize, but not sure about that one. You guys have any problems in X14 so far? I've had some funny little ones. Matterport adventure. Doug called me. This was a funny story. Basically, Matterport wouldn't take his Canadian credit card. So you guys up in Canada had a little problem with Matterport. Some bank that he banks with in Canada, and he didn't want to go get a new credit card that would work. So it's this big story about it here, and then people talking about Matterport. Funny. Couple things I want to mention. Debating going to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho in August for Chief Architect added a advanced level 2 courses in their get together in August. Advanced level 2, and that's when you get to sit down with the developers, maybe ask some questions, maybe learn some tricks you didn't know that you thought you knew. If you think you're a really advanced user, they did finally add that on. I'm thinking about going. I'm thinking about joining Dan Bowman. I also know that Dan Bowman is going to be scheduling a one of his live training, 2-week training. He's rented a place in Virginia, I think it is, in February. I plan on teaching there. I plan on teaching rendering. I know that's a big hot topic for you guys. I plan on teaching file structure organization, a number of different things. So I hope to be there for a couple weeks teaching the whole time. And then on top of that, I'll be staying in the residence that's being rented and running around and talking to you guys. So if you have any interest in that, ping me, ping Dan. He's going to have more info coming up pretty soon, I think. So that's a big one. So 2 different events coming up. I do plan on being at IBS in February, running around. If you guys want to meet up, hang out, have some fun. I love going to that show. It's going to be in Vegas this year. Plan on doing that. David, I see you got a question. Do I use a Space Mouse? Yes. I use a Space Mouse. I also have it programmed to use, I think I have it programmed for about 10 different programs. So it changes its function on each program. So when you see this radial menu come up, that's my Space Mouse radial menu that I created for Chief. So when I swipe in a direction, that gives me that tool, right? I love my Space Mouse. I think everybody should have one of these. It's great for navigating around. There's some weird little glitches in Chief that happen sometimes with the Space Mouse, but for the most part, it works really well. I believe if you're dragging and panning, and there's some little trick here. I forgot what it is now, but it's a funny one. There's a way that I can pan an orthographic elevation to show you that an elevation view is simply an orthographic view. So, but yeah, for the most part, it works really well. It's great for drawing a line at one end and continuing that line to another end, right? Zooming out, still continuously drawing that line. Yeah, Space Mouse works great. Yeah, I highly recommend it. Can't say enough good things about it. I actually really love it for the web as well. I have it programmed specifically for my email, so it makes it very quick for me to go into my email and just swipe up to follow up, and it's going to automatically tag that and put these things in the right location so that I have a 0 inbox. So that radial menu setup is really nice. Works well for Twinmotion. It works really well for SketchUp, and obviously Chief, a bunch of other things. All right, you guys, I'm still on tail end of COVID. I'm exhausted. I'm going to go take a break. Thanks for joining me today. I'm not sure that I gave many great answers. It was a funny group of questions on Chief Talk today. And also, I'm late to the party, man. That Eric and Rob and all those guys solve things so quick. You can't even come in and offer any viable solutions. So hope you guys have a good Friday. I know it's Free Simple Friday, so we'll drop some stuff in there. I'm not sure what I'm going to drop in there yet. I got to take a look. So enjoy.